Okay, so they're starting to come down, but there's going to be a lot of people, so it's going to take a minute before everyone gets situated and we start, but they're about to start coming down, so.
We're waiting on the rest of the family to get here. Just a second, and we'll get started. Jenny? Make sure it doesn't. Remember Hardwick? That took a toll on him. Somebody left me. I haven't got one. If saw Ben Johnson, it's something else. Good news is you got him in the shade, and there's a little breeze. county. She's moved on, so that's against her. Yeah, the whole family. Wherever you.
Yep, yes, sir. We got the crew. You guys good? Yes, sir.
Folks, I want to thank y'all for being here today and appreciate your patience. Any of you that were in that courtroom today and listened to what was said in there know how difficult that was for the family. I mean, try to imagine what it would be like for you, for it to be your family, and you're there listening to what that judge was saying about what happened to your family member, your daughter, your brother, your sister, your niece, your granddaughter. You know, the system is not kind to victims and their families. The process demands, as the judge said, constitutional rights and constitutional mandates, but sometimes the victims and their families get lost in that shuffle. But not here, and not today, and not in St. Johns County. I can tell you that having met the Bailey family, and I haven't spent as much time with them as Jennifer Dutton has, the lead prosecutor in this case, but I can tell you that I am a much better man and a much better prosecutor having met them. I just only hope that should I be faced with the tremendous trauma and grief of going through a loss like they did, that I could handle it with the dignity and grace that they have to this point. And again, let me remind you, try to put yourself in their shoes and how difficult this whole process has been. 22 months of court proceedings, 22 months of media coverage, and I'm not pointing fingers or blaming the media. We understand that this is a story that needs to be covered, but please try to be empathetic to these folks as we go through this process today. Now I'm going to call Mr. Forrest Bailey up to speak. The Bailey family will not be taking questions. Mr. Bailey is going to read a statement to you. At this time, I would ask Forrest if he would please come up.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Forrest Bailey, and I am Tristyn Tynes' father, and I will be speaking on behalf of my family. To start with, I would first like to thank God for the strength He has given us since Tristyn was taken from us, the grace He has instilled within us to support each other as we grieve, and especially for the incredible love that we have seen from so many in the world. I would like to thank the Honorable Judge Smith for his consideration in deciding upon the life sentence verdict. While it can seem so easy to many people for this to be the verdict, it must be an extremely difficult determination for the judge to arrive at, given all the aspects he needs to consider. We are very appreciative of this outcome and feel that it is the right verdict, considering how heinous the crime is and Aiden's behaviors around it. In one of our initial meetings with R.J. Larissa from the State Attorney Office, we gave our word that we would wait until the criminal proceedings were complete so that we did not distract from justice being served. It is important that the case is tried in the court of law. In agreement with them, we do have a few brief words to say today. However, we will not be very expansive as there is still an open case with Crystal Smith. During her celebration of life, we shared that to continue Tristyn's fight. We are going to fight for justice. Truth be told, this fight was done by so many, and the outcome today is a result of their efforts. Before we get into some of those thanks, as a parent, foremost, I would like to caution both parents and children on the dangers of social media and technology. As has come out through the proceedings, Aiden Fucci did not even have Tristyn's contact information until the evening before he killed her. While we have gone to a point where children are carrying technology for convenience and safety to contact their parents and their friends when needed, it comes at a great risk. It likely would not have made a difference in Tristyn's case, as it was referred from a trusted friend and she also knew Aiden from school. However, we would be sick to have it happen to any other family by not raising our concerns and our cautions. Please, to all the kids, if your parents require you to turn in your cell phones, realize your phone is a privilege, not a right, and that they are demonstrating love and protection for you. Parents, I encourage you to do so. As part of this investigation, the amount of kids sneaking out in our community and the frequency of how often they are doing so had us completely dumbfounded. On a different note, during Wednesday's proceedings and the filings at the end of the day, there were several apologies given from Aiden and some members of Aiden's family. Foremost, to his grandmother, your apology on the stand really touched us. It was the first time anyone in your family had acknowledged it, and we feel for you as we could tell how much you are hurting. With respect to the apology letter from Aiden, from his behavior at court, at no point has his actions fell in line with the letter, and I believe it is due to the coaching from the defense. With respect to the legal process that takes time, and to the comment from the defense about us not accepting the apology, I find that hard to stomach. The defense was insensitive to my family when they called out in writing our participations in these proceedings, which are our right to do so. They mentioned it in filings. They even went further by sending out a survey to my wife asking her opinion on Aiden murdering Tristyn. At no point did they have the common decency to give an apology, so I think they should reconsider their high ground before they advise anyone else on apologies. With regard to Crystal Smith and her apology, as I mentioned before, there's an open case with her, so it's difficult to comment. The fact that we are continuing to have to go through the legal process makes the apology questionable. You've seen the videos from the home. You've seen the videos from the interrogation room. I would say if she's sorry, she can start by accepting responsibility. To Aiden's family, I would remind them that he is still here. They can still see him. They can encourage him to change his behavior of bragging about his brutality and threatening the corrections officers and their families that keep him from harm and setting out on a better road. To those around his extended family, please extend them kindness. They should be given grace for the pain they are going through. They should not be given additional hardship. Tristyn had a good friend amongst his extended family, and treating them poorly based on Aiden's crime does not honor her memory or her spirit. At this point, I would like to transition and thank a number of parties which are typically either overlooked or not thanked. As a start, I would like to first thank our local Jacksonville-based media. Over time, we realized that the facts around this case made it one that was of great public interest. It happened in the well-recognized family county of St. John's. It was a vicious murder by a 14-year-old of a 13-year-old, and it happened on Mother's Day. An absolute lightning rod. Along the way, you have requested our respect for privacy, as well as our intent to wait until these proceedings are complete before sharing our thoughts. I think what is very important, as we saw respectful communication in the coverage and how things are dealt. For example, as a victim's family, I hate seeing the picture of my beautiful daughter next to the person responsible for her murder. I think that's true for most victims' families. When we express this and our outrage and the hurt it caused, we saw a change over time, both in the broadcast as well as the articles, and we appreciate those efforts. While likely also driven through the incredible compassion and love demonstrated from the St. John's community, we also saw a focus of the victim and highlights of Tristyn's life and what she did. This is important. It shouldn't just be about the details of their death. I would suggest there needs to be more focus put on the victims of other crimes and not just these lightning cases. For example, there was a recent murder in Putnam County of Ayanna Belton, which was similar in brutality, and yet not enough highlighted on that family and her loss. Also like to say a very quick word with respect to some of the most social media stories, the podcasts, the channels. More and more people are turning to these channels to get information. It is my hope, honestly, for people to do better and to be more sensitive. For anyone that tunes to these channels, please realize that there are subscribers and web clicks, and you may approximate that to ratings for established news media. Yet this is not reflective of the integrity of the information that you are consuming. Over the course of the past almost 2 years, we had several people send us links from programs. Many of them were downright nauseating. They were inaccurate. They were over-dramatization. Truly, it's hurtful to the victims' families. They're profiting from this. However, there were some that were very truthful, some that had done some research, and there were some that were out there that were trying to do a good job. How you tell the difference between them is not clear. So again, I would caution people as to where they get their information. My intent here, though, is not to criticize, but encourage people to do better. I would even give a recent example, as there was a Twitter account that posted information that was very unnecessary and hurtful. When a good family friend reached out to them to explain this, they connected that this was a real person, with people still grieving for her loss. They then took it down. They stated an apology from what they learned from it. I have no idea who sits behind the keyboard of @docket, and it's unlikely that I never meet the individual. Yet the way he handled the mistake speaks well to his integrity, and it gives me hope that this will improve in time. Sticking with the theme of appreciating people that do not get enough, I have to thank the 7th Circuit State Attorney's Office. Many of us understand the importance of having great leadership at the top, and I absolutely have to say this is the case with respect to R.J. Larissa. From the initial conversation we had with him around the grand jury until meeting with him recently, preparing to go to trial, we know he has been focused on getting justice and doing so in a compassionate way. I am deeply grateful for the work he's continuing to do. RJ, thank you. To the State Attorney Prosecution team of Jennifer Dudden and Mark Johnson, while we understand that you work for the state of Florida, we could not have wished for two better people to prosecute this case. Along the way, the care and compassion and understanding that you showed to my family was exemplary. You made it very easy to have faith that you would get justice. In addition to you, we also want to thank your families. We know that there was a tremendous amount of sacrifices made by them to make sure that you could prosecute this to the fullest extent, and they had a lot of disruptions, and we appreciate it. There were many times that you had to prepare us for the very worst, leading up to February 6th when we expected to go to trial. We know you wanted to make sure we were prepared for the facts and details. The compassionate way in which you made sure we were prepared for things as horrific as the crime scene photos and the medical examiner's report speaks volumes to the incredible people you are at your core. I cannot fathom how you do the job that you do, and I'm very grateful that you represent the people in the 7th Judicial Circuit and on our case. Jenny, Mark, from the bottom of our heart, thank you. We are also well aware that the entire staff of the 7th Circuit State Attorney's Office helped either directly or indirectly on this case. Again, we're incredibly thankful to you and all the sacrifices that you made and the support you received from your families. We would be very remiss in not calling out one specific individual who has been a wonderful point of contact throughout. Terry Sims. You were the first person that I spoke with. You've been a contact throughout, and you've really touched our heart. When we learned that you delayed your retirement from November when the trial date moved because you wanted to see this case through, it was a tremendous reflection of the entire office. Thank you so much for everything you did for us. And thank you for so much for everything that you've done for our justice system in our over 30 years. Thank you. It's impossible to talk about the 7th State Attorney's Office without also mentioning the St. John's Sheriff's Office. Again, much of this starts with the leadership at the very top. Years ago, when he was at the start of his law enforcement career, Sheriff Hardwick worked on the Haley Cummings case. Sheriff Hardwick applied everything he learned from that case to Tristyn's. Our county is extremely fortunate to have Sheriff Hardwick at the helm as we continue to grow in St. John's. He and Kendall are tireless in their efforts to engage with the community, and the work he does in the background to support everyone in the SJSO is unseen to the public, yet so appreciated and felt by the people in his department. Servant leadership and leading from the front at its best. Support from the St. John's Sheriff's Office truly began prior to us ever needing to call. He and his team have developed an incredible network within the community. The youth resource officers who mean so much to the students within the schools they are in. For us, this was Deputy Beasley. When the 911 call was made and the social media information started coming in, as Stacy mentioned, Deputy Beasley was integral in starting to help the investigative crew make some connections. With respect to that investigative crew, the thoroughness and attentiveness of their work clearly came through on Tuesday. This was both with the original patrol and especially with respect to Sergeant Kurt Hannon. I have thanked Sergeant Hannon so many times and will never be able to thank him enough. Everything he did to coordinate the work of a massive team and also to get the information that came from the community. While it was incredibly difficult news to hear, the fact that he showed up at our door at 3:40 in the morning to let us know they had her killer meant the world. We know there are so many contributed to the case throughout this time and even recently, Again, on behalf of my family, we appreciate each and every one of you and also give our heartfelt thanks to your respective families who support the incredible work you do. There is also a very special group of people I'd like to recognize in the bailiffs that work here at the courthouse and are in the courtyard with us today. These people are simply incredible at what they do. I was able to sit in a room with a known killer of one of my family members and have no concern for the safety of the rest of my family. In every interaction, they were also so understanding and supportive. Truly just an amazing group of people. There are a few people I would like to call out individually to thank. First off, I have to thank Bob Ellis. He's been a wonderful and true friend. He helped me in so many ways, and I'm extremely grateful for it. I also need to thank Matthew H. Henson. My family has known and worked with Matt for several years, and I was so thankful when he offered to help us coordinate all the media requests. He did so much more than that. There are so many times he has also been a venting and guidance outlet to our family, and particularly me. Matt, thank you. To the counseling community that has helped my family throughout this, I'm very appreciative, in particular Megan Logan and Kaylee Brennanman. This grieving process is hard, and without the additional focus that we have had, we would not stand as strong if it weren't for your respective help. Ashley Mitchell. We would be here for hours to talk about everything that you have done for the different members of our family as our victims advocate. Your network was invaluable in helping us to find counseling resources we needed. You were always extremely adept at following up on every initial rumor or concern that made its way to us in the early days, and very knowledgeable about explaining and setting our expectations for what is to come in the legal process. I've been truly amazed at how you have learned Bailey time. You seem to always communicate the right time for us to be here so that we could get through security and not delay the court proceedings. Ashley, in the wide expanse of people that our family knows, no one has ever done this as well as you have. From the bottom of our heart, thank you. In the days ahead, we're going to shift our focus and talk more about Tristyn, the plans that we have to celebrate her legacy. And we have a tremendous amount to share about this St. John's community, the people in it, the businesses that have supported us, the cheer community, and everything that they've done. As I look over, I also see all of our friends and family, and it's just a small sample of who could be here today. You've helped carry us throughout, and we appreciate and love each and every one of you. Today is about focusing on the people who helped deliver justice for our community, and I want to keep the focus on that. Before I close, though, I would like to say a few words into the universe. God, I know you're always listening when we talk to you, and would ask your assistance to get Tristyn's attention for a moment, as she probably started doing something more fun as I was going along. Tristyn, I wanted to let you know we are so extremely proud of the person that you were in your time here. We have seen that when you went out into the world, you gave it your very best. You should be proud of the friend that you were, the teammate you were, and what you left behind, and the people that knew you, that we trust will go forward and continue to make the world a better place. With respect to what you mean to our family, it's in our hearts. There are no words. We love you. We will continue to hold you in our hearts, and we will always be the Bailey 7. At this time, it's my pleasure to hand it over to Sheriff Rob Hardwick.
I wish I actually would have spoke before you, Forrest. I'm not sure how you follow that besides putting an exclamation point behind that statement that he gave on behalf of the Bailey family. I will tell you this. Mother's Day of 2021, the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office got the privilege to meet the Bailey Seven. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that horrific incident. With that being said, what happened was a team came together from the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, the 7th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office, and today we finished what we started together with the Bailey Seven. We could not ask for a better family to be a victim in this process. Patient, respectful, understanding, and truly finished it to the end together with our team. We, together with the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, you're no longer the Bailey 7, you're the Bailey 927 is what you are. With that being said, I do want to recognize two people that Forrest actually mentioned that are right to my left, to your right. And that's Sergeant Kurt Hannon, who was the lead investigator from the start. And then our lead victim advocate, Ashley Mitchell, who was also introduced here a minute ago. The entire team at the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, it takes a true team to work these type of cases. And we did it together. However, these two individuals started it and finished it with this family by their side 24 hours a day. And again, they are part of that Bailey family now. I do want to recognize the prosecutors in this case, Jenny Dutton and Mark Johnson. RJ, as you know, I had the privilege of working with both those when I worked for the State Attorney's Office. You want to talk about the epitome of prosecutors with preparing a case from start to finish. Those are the two that actually know how to do it right. By the way, they were prepared for trial, and they were prepared to win in trial, all the way to the day today when he was actually sentenced. With that being said, on behalf of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, the entire team that put this case together, with RJ Larissa, and his entire State Attorney's Office team, thank you to the Bailey family for understanding of what this job entails. Again, we will forever be a part of the Bailey 927. Thank you. I wish you two went behind me.
As I said when we started this is reality. This is the true nitty-gritty of what happens when we have violence in our communities and the impact that it takes, not just on the family, but the community. And again, I urge and challenge all of you in the media to respect that and to recognize that as you cover stories. And unfortunately, there'll probably be more stories that you will cover that will have the impact of what we've had today. It's a sad reality of the world in which we live. Having said that, I'd just like to also recognize Jenny Dutton and Mark Johnson. You don't understand the toll it takes on prosecutors as well to immerse themselves in cases like this over and over again. With families to take care of, they come in and work nights and weekends and holidays to make it happen. And I truly appreciate and respect that. Now, if you have any questions, again, the Bailey family is not taking questions. But if you have questions, we will entertain them at this time.
State Attorney, listening to you, listening to Sheriff Hardwick, it's clearly personal. How do you try a case, make sure that you do everything, check off all the boxes legally, when you're looking at a 13-year-old girl who lost her life, her family dealing with so much pain? How do you separate that and still show compassion?
Well, I'm not sure that you separate it. You become a part of it. The truly great prosecutors, the great investigators, you have to become a part of it. That's why it takes such a toll. And that's why I'm saying think about what it does to the families and think about what it does to the folks that are involved. We have to dive in and deal with it and show the families that we care and that we're going to do something about it. That's how we deal with it.
What changes do you think need to occur when it comes to our youth? We had a family member get on the stand and say that trust and faith in the system to keep violence away from innocent children in schools is gone to that family member. So intervention, what does that look like now in the Seventh Circuit?
Well, I can tell you one of the things, and it's a sad reality, is we have a Young Guns initiative involving juveniles and 20-somethings that are committing most of your violent crime in our communities. And it's not just St. Johns County. It's not just the Seventh Circuit. I'm not sure what the cause is, but I can tell you from the experience I'm seeing each and every day. Look at Pine Hills in Orlando. Look at what happened in other parts of our community. Young people don't seem to have respect for life. Aiden Fucci certainly didn't. He said he was going to kill someone, and he did. And now we deal with the aftermath. So I challenge our local governments, our state governments, and our federal governments to help find a solution. We, the criminal justice system, Sheriff Hardwick and I, we see the end result of the failure. And then we're expected to do something about it. The criminal justice system, we're here to protect families. We're here to protect the Baileys and other folks and to get justice when it's caught, when we can. So the challenge is to get the community and the government involved to find out how they can try to intervene and stop some of this violence. And it all boils down, I believe, to families and respect for life. We seem to have lost that with some of our young folks today.
Mr. Larissa, this is for you and Sheriff Hardwick. In 25 years, this case is going to go back before a panel, and they're going to look at it.
Right.
According to state law, what is your message to the people who are reviewing it 25 years from now?
Well, and first, thank you. And first, let me be clear. Some folks were under the impression that it's an automatic release at 25 years. Let me be very clear. It is not. The judge, whoever that may be, will have the opportunity to either affirm the sentence or change it. The sad thing is that the judge will not have been in that courtroom today or all week to have seen and heard firsthand what the families experienced. So my challenge to them is similar to what my challenge was to y'all. Put yourself in these folks' position. Try to imagine what it was like to get that phone call, to your child to be missing on Mother's Day, and then to get that news. I bet it's incomprehensible, but this family had to go through it, and God bless them for it. And I'll turn it over to Sheriff Hardwick.
Thank you, Mr. Larissa. I will tell you this. This case can be reviewed 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and 100 years from now. The facts of this case will never change. In this case, the reports, the forensic evidence, everything, the I's were dotted, the T's were crossed by this entire team. Between the State Attorney's Office, the family, and the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, this case is untouchable. They can try this thing 1,000,000 times, and the same result will be with him going to prison for the rest of his life, period.
Mr. Larissa.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, Sheriff, the judge today said this was one of the most shocking cases in St. Johns County, and in the 30 years that he's been in this region, this one stands out. What are your thoughts?
Well, I started my career in 1980 working in the criminal justice system, and I've got to say it is absolutely one of the worst. And again, I don't want to tempt fate, and I hate to say it, but in my 43 years of working in the system, I say this is the worst case I've ever seen, and then something else happens. I hope and pray that's not the case now, but I can tell you that this is certainly one of the worst that I've ever seen.
Thank you, sir. Once again, I had the privilege of actually working under R.J. Larissa, his assistant chief, in charge of the homicide investigation unit for 4 counties. This is my 31st year in law enforcement, and this is to take no respect away from the Bailey family at all. This is how we treat all of our victims, by the way, in St. Johns County. They receive and they get first-class customer service, as it's the most heinous and atrocious crime, whether it be the simplest crime to this crime we work today. But I can actually agree with R.J. Larissa in my 31 years, working 12 years homicide under him. This is the most egregious, horrific case based on all the facts. Yes, ma'am.
Defense attorneys in this case filed repeatedly, whenever they could. There is a chance that they'll file an appeal. What is your response to that?
Well, the good news is that they pled. When you enter a plea to a crime, you waive a lot of your appellate rights as a defendant. For example, the right to confront witnesses, the right to have a jury trial, the right to challenge the verdict. He can only challenge whether or not the sentence was lawful and whether or not it was that it was free and voluntarily made. They can always attack their attorneys, and they typically do down the road for ineffective assistance of counsel. But all the other appellate rights or the constitutional rights were waived by the defendant. So that is a big plus for having a plea versus a trial. Thank you all so much for being here today. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Hold on. That's all. No, hey, look, if this case don't do it, nothing will matter.
Mr. Larissa?
Yes, sir.
Where's you next for Mr. Fucci? Where is he going?
He's going to the
Until he's
Florida
18.
State Prison. Now they'll put him in a facility where they house juveniles that have been sentenced as adults. He'll probably go to the reception center first for a brief classification period, and then he'll wind up being transferred. And there's several what they call youthful offender institutions where they have a number of them housed, and they try to keep them together.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Right.
And I just got a briefing on that today, so I think it's pretty accurate.
Okay.
Okay?
To the
You're
state
Nick,
prison.
right?
Yeah, Vic.
Vic, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.